The Unofficial Classic Fallout TableTop Edition is about player experience, not about the game operator. It is up to the players to decide what to do and where to go, and the GO is there to facilitate gameplay and to carry the story through the end. It is the role of the GO to provide a well-built foundation for players to flourish. When players are comfortable with their environment, they can expand upon ideas and concepts with their own personal touch. Imagine you're writing a choose-your-own-adventure book. The players are your readers and you are the author. In the beginning, you give them the setting and the plot, but it is up to the players to decide how they want to progress. For example, to continue on in the story, players need to get from point A to point B. How they get there doesn't really matter as long as they do. However, it is your job as the GO to make the tools available so that players come to that conclusion on their own. What if there's an important NPC you want your players to talk to? First things first, they must interact with this NPC, and they must know to ask about specific information. Here's the situation. Players are given a quest to deliver a message to an informant somewhere in town. The mission is clear, but there are many ways to go about solving it. Players could question every person in town, but that isn't a very elegant solution. What if there is a message written in graffiti that gives them a clue? Or perhaps they need to stake out a dead drop location. Or force an interaction where an NPC plants a riddle about who the informant is. As long as players have the right knowledge or equipment to solve a problem, then you've done a good job as the GO. Criteria for the first is met when players solve the riddle, see who took the dead drop, or what have you. The second is taken care of by the very nature of the quest. Talk to the informant about XYZ. Despite how linear a quest may be, players should have multiple opportunities to progress the story. The GO should offer 2 or 3 ways to solve every problem. If there's a fight that's broken out, do players join in? Do they stop the fighting? Do they ignore the problem and face the consequences later on? How the players progress the story is up to them, but the GO should always nudge them along. Moving on, what captures the Fallout setting are multiple factions fighting for control over the same territory, and by extension the people living within it. There is a constant struggle between factions that can be tilted to one side by a great hero or dastardly villain. Does the land contain a powerful weapon or tool that one side could use to lever the odds in their favor? Or is the land worthless, but factions fight over it anyway for a status symbol? Or do they want to control the territory to prevent other factions from going in and swooping it up? Classic Fallout titles take place in and around California, but that doesn't have to be where your story takes place. Fallout New Vegas explores the Mojave, and 3 and 4 explore the East Coast. But you can take your adventure anywhere. Perhaps go outside North America and see what other places have been affected by the bombs dropping. The USSR and China were in conflict during the Great War, so what would it be like to explore those places? What would it be like to explore the frozen wasteland of post-apocalyptic Russia? Or you could take your adventure to a more remote location like Hawaii. There are military ports and outposts located in the islands, and China annexed Japan, so could there be Japanese refugees there? After the US government fell, what would it be like for the native Hawaiians? I can imagine there'd be some political conflict between the US forces fighting to remain in control. The plot is the most important aspect of the player's journey. Their characters, sure, but the plot keeps the player engaged with the story. RPGs are fun on their own, but there is only so much random questing one person can handle. If there is some vague goal in mind, a player might have difficulty finding a direction to take their character. In every mainline Fallout game, the goal of each adventure is clearly established from the beginning of the title. The mainline quests may stray from the initial goal as the story transitions into one with greater stakes. In Fallout 1, the Vault Dweller goes from saving the vault by finding a water chip to saving the entire wasteland. Always throwing something new at the player works well to integrate the plot into the narrative so that the story flows well from the beginning.